So today we're exploring the coast at Keyhaven near Lymington. Behind me there is Hurst Castle. That was built by Henry VIII. Well, not personally, it was built in the Tudor period and was reinforced in World War II and reused. Right behind me there's the Isle of Wight. You can just about see the Needles over there and the Needles Lighthouse. And then behind me now there's Keyhaven Salt Marsh, Lymington Marshes, right there. So we're going to be exploring a bit of what we can see in this salt marsh area around here. Okay, this is a tidal salt marsh here. All of this area here is prone to inundation, which means when the tide's fully in, all of this could be covered up by seawater. It's quite a muddy, sort of swampy area. There's some quite interesting plants to be seen here. We'll have a look at a few of them in a minute, but the one we've actually come here today for is this one down here. This is Marsh Samphire. Looks a little bit like a cactus sort of thing, a little branched cactus. It's known by the name of poor man's asparagus, and it's actually a really good wild vegetable. So we're going to pick a little bit of this today, take it home, steam it and have it for dinner. I won't pick too much, there's plenty of it about, but I am conscious that this is an area that shouldn't be exploited too much, so just going to pick enough for one meal. And this is a perennial plant, so I'm just going to cut the tops off and leave the roots in the ground, because that will grow back again next year. And also the bottom part of the plant is quite woody and completely inedible, so I'm just going to slice off. There we go. So we'll just take a few handfuls of this, I think, because we don't want to overdo it, and it doesn't keep very well, so we'll take enough for one meal today. These are sea asters. Very lovely little plant. Look, there's a bee having a feed on that one. Lovely little maritime plant. And there are varieties of this that have no petals at all, and they just have little yellow button type flowers. But this is a variety that has all of its petals. Very, very pretty. Lovely splash of colour right here. It's sea beet. It's ancestor of beetroot and perpetual spinach. Not the right time of year to be picking that though. This is August and it's really past its best, so I'm not going to pick some of that today, but another time we'll come back and have a look at sea beet. A couple of plants we find a little bit further up from the sea, from the waterline. This is sea kale here. There's actually quite a lot of it around here up on the shingle banks. And this one here is white campion. Characteristic of nearly all of the plants that you'll find here right on the seashore, the leaves are a little bit succulent to conserve moisture. There's another plant with sort of fleshy, glaucous, greeny blue leaves. This is sea poppy, and there's the poppy flower. There we are. And this thing has roots that go right down into the shingle, and it's actually a contributor to the stability of these shingle banks. So there we are. See all those plants up there? They're yet to actually flower. That's sea poppy. This plant down here, this is actually called rock samphire, and this is not related to marsh samphire at all. This is actually the original samphire, because this grows out of cliff faces, so it grows out of cracks in rocks, and people used to think that it actually broke the rocks up, and so it was because it grew out of rocks, it was called St. Peter's herb, and St. Peter got changed into samphire over time just by corruption of the language, and so this is samphire, and the other stuff was named after it. The marsh samphire was named after the rock samphire. So yeah, rock samphire. It is edible, and it was once very highly prized. People used to pickle it and make a condiment out of it. I have eaten it. It's got a really, really very strong taste of celery and carrots, because it is actually a member of the carrot family. You can tell from the flowers. So it is edible. I'm not awfully fond of it. I've had it pickled before now, and it's a very distinctive taste. It's interesting, but not something I'd want to eat every day. This plant here, I'm afraid I draw a blank on actually. Clearly a member of the cabbage family, because it has these little four-petaled flowers. It looks a lot like a radish plant, but actually has these fleshy leaves The flowers remind me most of cuckoo flower, which again is a member of the cabbage family, related to watercress and so on. So yeah, I would hazard a guess that these leaves are edible, but I'm not going to try that today. So I don't actually know what this plant is. I'm going to have to look this one up when we get home. Back at home, I'm just going to dump this samphire that we picked into a bowl of cold water. I'm going to give it a proper wash in a minute. I'll give it a proper rinse in a minute. But first thing to do is just give it a little bit of a soak in cold water, just to let the dirt loosen up. Now this has been soaking in cold water for about half an hour. You can see all the little bits of dirt and debris that have come out of there. That would not have come off with a simple rinse. So what I'm going to do now is put those in a colander and give it a rinse under the tap, under running water, and then we'll give that about probably 5 to 10 minutes steaming over boiling water. Okay, so steamer with rapidly boiling water in that, and in goes our samphire. And I'm just going to give that probably 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so that's actually about 8 minutes, and our samphire is lovely and tender. Look at that. Sort of goes translucent. So I'm going to put that in a serving dish, and we'll just put a knob of butter on that. Okay, I'm just going to do a little pre-dinner tasting of this samphire. So let's have a little go at that. It has this kind of twiggy interior, but you just grip it by the bottom and pull the flesh off with your teeth. I think to call that poor man's asparagus is actually doing it an injustice. It's not like asparagus at all. It's actually a vegetable in its own right. It's got this fantastic flavour of the sea. It's salty, it's juicy. I guess the flavour, if I was going to compare it to anything, is kind of similar to spinach, but it's got a lot more complexity than that. Kind of squeaky texture in your mouth when you're chewing it, a bit like green beans. So well worth the effort, this one. Very good wild vegetable. That's Marsh Samphire.